Okay, so when we're looking at the warm-up here, this is just a basic question. Find the equation of the line that passes through these points. This is all going to lead into what we're doing later. So when we're doing this, first thing we need to do, use our 2 points, find the slope. So our slope here is going to be delta y over delta x. Then we're going to do 3 minus 2, which is 5 on the top, or 3 minus negative 2, excuse me. 7 minus negative 1, which is going to be 8. So our slope is going to be 5 over 8. We're then going to pick either one of those points, and we're going to solve for the b value. You'll notice that this isn't always going to work out nicely. B value here might not work out as nice as we want. So we've got y equals mx plus b. We sub in our points. I'm going to use point b because it's smaller numbers. So I'm going to have negative 2 equals negative, not negative, so sorry, 5 over, let's fix that, 5 over 8 times negative 1, struggling, negative 1, plus b. We're going to get, I'm going to change negative 2 to negative 16 over 8, because when I bring the 5 over 8 over, it's going to become a plus 5 over 8 because we've got negative 1 times 5 over 8. So we get plus 5 over 8 equals b, and then b equals negative 11 over 8. Therefore, our equation is y equals 5 over 8 x minus 11 over 8. And we've done questions like that before. The next one is looking for a perpendicular equation to this. Passes through c, which is negative 9 and 2. So first we need to find our slope. So the slope of that line is 3. So then the perpendicular slope is always our negative reciprocal. It's 1 over 3, and we have to make it negative. We're now going to use that slope and the point we're given. So we've got y equals mx plus b. We have 2 equals negative 1/3 times negative 9, which is negative 9 over 1 if I want to do that, plus b. So that's 2 equals negative 1 times negative 9 is 9. 9 over 3 is 3 plus b. b is then negative 1. So therefore our equation, y equals negative 1/3 x minus 1. Okay, that's all stuff we've done before in the last couple days. It is a little bit difficult sometimes, but those aren't things that I don't think that you can do. All right, we need all of that stuff to do the stuff for today. Okay, so right bisector, median, and altitude. These are the last things on your assignment that you wouldn't know how to do, I believe. So a right bisector, it's actually right in the words what it is. A right bisector is at a right angle, so meaning it's 90 degrees, and bisector means it cuts it in half. So whenever you hear the word bisector, you're cutting something in half. So it's going to be at a right angle and right in the middle. We've cut AB in half. We're at a right angle. Wow, it's a terrible rating. Okay, looking at how to do this, the steps on how to do this. First, find the slope of your line. That slope is going to help you find the perpendicular slope. We flip the fraction and make it negative. Or if it's already negative, make it positive. Then we're going to find the midpoint of our line. You need to find that midpoint because we have to cut the line in half. Okay? Use the perpendicular slope and the midpoint to find your b value. So you plug it into y equals mx plus b, and then you just state the equation. Okay? Show you what I mean with this example. Okay. Again, if you ever need to, you can obviously stop the video to write down stuff. I'm going a little bit quickly because it is a video. First thing we want to, so step 1, find our slope. So the slope is going to be delta y over delta x our slope here is going to be 4 minus 2, which is 2, and then 5 minus negative 1, which is 6, so our slope is negative 1/3. Our second step is to find the perpendicular slope. So we're going to use that. We're going to make our perpendicular slope negative 3. All right. Well, now we need to find the midpoint. So step 3 is to find the midpoint of those two things. And remember, our midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2. So when we're finding our midpoint, we've got 5 minus 1, or 5 plus negative 1, which is 5 minus 1, over 2, which is 4 over 2. And then 4 plus 2, so we've got 6 over 2. So our midpoint is 2, 3. So we now have our midpoint. Step 4 was to find our b value. So we've got y equals mx plus b. We're using this point and this slope. So we've got 3 equals negative 3 times 2 plus b. 3 equals negative 6 plus b. b equals 9. And 5, we're stating the equation. So we've got y equals negative 3x plus 9. Okay, I've stated all of my steps. I wrote down all of my formulas. I got the question right. Okay. Next, median. When we're looking at the median, our median is a line that connects the vertex or an end of a triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, so when we're looking at this, we're connecting a vertex, which is just a fancy word for one of the points of the triangle, to the midpoint of the other side. Now the steps here are find the midpoint of the other side, use a vertex or the corner and that midpoint to find the slope of the line, then use your vertex and your slope to find the b value and state the equation. You can also use your midpoint, I guess, to find your b value too. All right, so first step, find the midpoint of the opposite side. So we're going from A to BC, okay, or to ABC. So we're finding the median from A. So we're going to BC. So that means that we need to find the midpoint of BC. Okay, so we've got x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. We then plug in our points. So again, we're using B and C. So why don't we just put BC right there? So this is the midpoint of BC in subscripts. So x1 plus x2, we've got negative 1 plus 5 is going to be 4 over 2. And then negative 5 plus negative 7 is going to be negative 12 over 2. So our midpoint of BC is going to be 2, negative 6. All right. Second step was to use that and the vertex to find our slope. So our vertex in this point is A. So our slope is going to be delta y over delta x. And we're going to have this point here with A. So we've got delta y is going to be 1 minus negative 6. So we're going to have 7 over 4 minus 2, which is going to be 2. Okay, so we've got 7 over 2 for our slope. And now we just have to use that with one of our points, either the midpoint or A, to find our p value. And this is where, when we were in the warm-up, I said that it's not always going to be as easy as just plugging in points. So here we've got, and this one actually works out kind of nice. We've got negative 6 equals 7 over 2 times 2 over 1 plus b. I've made the x value 2 over 1, so I'm just looking at that. That's 2, so my x value here is 2, but I just made it 2 over 1 because I'm multiplying. I think it's easier for some of you to see that. So 7 times 2 is 14, 2 times 1 is 2, 14 divided by 2, it's just going to give me 7 again. Or you can reduce that fraction down, so we've got 7 plus b. b equals negative 13. And the last step, 4, I believe it was 4. Yeah, so state our equation. So we've got y equals 7 over 2x minus 13. Alright. Now we're moving on to the last one. So our last one was altitude. And really what the altitude is just finding the height of the triangle. Now, when we're finding the height, we're finding the equation of the height of the triangle. The height of the triangle is always a right angle. Okay, we're always going to find a right angle to find the height of a triangle. So we need to go from the base that it says to the other point. So our steps, find the slope of the base, find the perpendicular slope, use the perpendicular slope and the top of the triangle to find your b value, and state your equation. Alright, so we need to make sure we read the questions. So we're finding the altitude from A. So again, that means we're using A as the top of our triangle. So we need to find the slope of BC. Alright, so 1. We're going to find our slope, which is delta y over delta x. We're going to use negative 5 plus 7 is 2. Because negative 5 minus negative 7. And then negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. So our slope here is negative 1 over 3. That means when we find our perpendicular slope, we flip the fraction and make it positive. We get 3 over 1, or just 3. We're now going to use that slope and the point that we haven't used yet, which is A, because that's what we're using to find our altitude, to find our b value. So we're going to have 1 equals 3 times 4 plus b. So we get 1 equals 12 plus b. b equals negative 11. And then 4, we're stating our equation, which is y equals negative, or sorry, not negative, 3x minus 11. All right. And that is right bisector, median, and altitude. There are all your questions. So you have page 96, number 6 and 14. Page 96, number 13 and 20 is just a review of your geometric properties. And then you can finish your assignment now. This is due on Friday. I'm collecting it. If you don't have it done, I'm taking what you have on Friday. Okay, so you need to be working on that today.